Start by just giving you a flavour to what it is that we do in the Highlands and Islands operation in which we fly, in a very, very short film just about our services to the island of Barra, where we land on the beach, and it's the world's only scheduled air service to a beach runway.
It can be a beautiful experience flying over to Barra. The scenery is absolutely stunning. Tourists, when they come off the plane, say, "Oh, what an experience, that was the best experience of my life, this was fantastic." I'm Janet McLean, I work for Loganair in Barra, and it's the only scheduled beach landing in the world. Scenery in Barra is absolutely beautiful, stunning. It's so relaxed, it's a very easy way of life, it's a slower pace of life. The people are lovely. They would never not try to help if they could, and that's quite unique. Beach walks, bird watching, fishing, anything relaxing, Barra is the place to be. In all my years in the airport, I have had so many people coming in for a weekend who then a year later come back, and the following year they're back again, and 35 years later they're still coming back because they enjoy it so much. If you want to visit any of the Scottish Islands, they're all worth visiting, but without a doubt Barra is by far the best. You really need to go and see it for yourself.
Janet, who you heard in the video there, is actually our longest serving member of staff in Loganair and running our operation out in Barra. But it really is, I think, a testament to the work of people like Janet and the team that the ERA judging panel has awarded Loganair the Gold Airline of the Year award last night, which I was delighted to collect on their behalf, and it's a true accolade and I think a reflection of the changes that we've made within the business over the last 12 to 18 months as we moved from flying under a franchise agreement with Flybe to operating in our own right independently. So looking forward to the future from that, because that's clearly what's behind us. We've got a fairly significant programme over the next few weeks even. We are keeping a very close watch on industry events and taking opportunities as and where they arrive. So we have a new route launch at the end of this month between Glasgow and City of Derry, which is picking up a route that Loganair operated for many years, and then Ryanair came along. Loganair exited the market because I make no apologies for not being able to compete head-on with Ryanair, but then they've now left the market, and so we're returning to that. And it's those kind of opportunities that we see more of coming up over the next 12 to 18 months, which will provide a good source of growth within the Loganair operation. We've also very recently taken on a contract operation flying for British Airways City Flyer, operating between the Isle of Man and London City, and taken on providing that service for them, 3 flights a day with a Saab 2000, and that started on the 1st of September and to date has been recording some very strong performance capabilities. Now, the next big event that we have is around the addition of Embraer regional jet aircraft to Loganair's fleet. Our first aircraft was rolled out at the paint shop at East Midlands yesterday, quite by coincidence on the day of the Airline of the Year awards, but it's now just awaiting for the Civil Aviation Authority approving flights and approvals, which hopefully will be taking place during the course of next week, for Loganair to add the Embraer regional jet to its air operator certificate. Now, we've had one of those aircraft which has been operating our flights between Inverness and Manchester, leased from our sister company, BMI Regional, since July of last year. That will become a full Loganair operation, and we'll be adding a second aircraft to our fleet in December, which will take over from a Saab 2000 aircraft operating on the Glasgow-Stornoway route. And that will be the beginning of our phase-out of the Saab 2000 aircraft, progressively leaving our fleet towards over the course of the next 15 months. I think another thing that we've been putting a lot of focus on has been our campaign that we've called the Better Connected campaign, around our connections, both to make sure that the flight connections within the Loganair network work well. We're seeing an increasing number of customers using flight transfers within Loganair's own route network. So for example, from Norwich to Edinburgh and onwards to the North Isles, all those kind of elements. But the Better Connected programme is really about our links with other major airlines. So we have a long-standing code share arrangement with British Airways, which I think works very well for both parties. And we've seen a significant increase, around 40% increase, in the number of customers using the connections between Loganair and British Airways in the first year of Loganair operating as an independent carrier. We've also very recently added to that new relationships with other airlines, including KLM and Air France, Turkish Airlines, more recently Emirates, and we have system testing going on. So if anybody's live on the internet, you'll probably be able to see on Qatar Airways' website all of Loganair's destinations just appearing as that's about to go live with a relationship with Qatar Airways for connections, and we'll be adding Aer Lingus to that as well by the end of the year, which will connect our route from Inverness to Dublin to the Aer Lingus transatlantic network, which of course is growing very significantly as well. So offering those connections I think is really important for us as a regional carrier, serving the communities who wish to travel far and wide, and that's something that we've been doing a lot of work around, and it's something that we'll continue to do to hopefully offer the best range of connections that we possibly can to the communities that we serve. And while we're on the subject of community, serving our communities, I think the customer service elements of that are very, very important around that as well. We've got, I was just on the telephone to our operations centre just before coming into the conference this morning to see how things are shaping up. We've got some very significant weather heading into Scotland tomorrow, so I think this being the last day of the ERA conference is probably a good thing, so I think it's going to get very, very wet and very, very windy tomorrow. But of course it's one of the busiest days of the year for us tomorrow because it's the beginning of the October school holidays, and so that gives us a number of challenges that all of our flights are very busy. So in terms of serving our customers, what we do is we proactively say to them, look, there is a weather warning out there. If you wish to change your booking free of charge and travel on an earlier flight, wherever we've got a seat available, we will carry you. You don't need to pay a change fee, you don't need to pay any difference in fare. If we've got a seat available, you can do that. And so that's happened. We've put extra flights onto our route network this afternoon and this evening to try and help people to travel ahead of the bad weather, which a big number have taken up. Our flights are completely full this evening. And then it also means that their onward travel arrangements, wherever they may be, are protected. But I think it's things like that that really make a difference to our communities that we serve in terms of trying to look after their onward travel and give them those kind of advance warnings and give them that flexibility to choose when to travel. And that kind of difference, I think, really sets the regional airline industry apart from the major airlines, where if you want to do that kind of thing, the answer is either no or yes, you can change, but there's a very significant charge attached to it. So we do see some very, very strong feedback from our customers about the kind of positive nature of those kind of things. And of course, it helps us as an airline as well, because it does mean that if flights do become disrupted by bad weather, if people have travelled ahead of it, the number of customers that we have to look after and then rebook on the day of the disruption is reduced. But that's a kind of active programme in place this morning heading towards tomorrow, and that's very much the way that we deal with those kind of weather events, which are more regular than many others. Excuse me. So that's really an important aspect, I think, of the service that we offer to our customers. And we're building on that with technology as well. When we set up our own independent reservation system, we went with a system called Vidicom, which has worked incredibly well for us over the last 12 months. Been very, very pleased with that. But we're building more and more capability into that for customers. For example, if flights are disrupted or there's a weather warning out, to be able to make those changes to their booking online and have certainty of their travel straight away. So those kind of developments, again, I think are there. We will have by the end of the year as well an app for our customers to be able to check in online, which they currently can do, but can't store boarding cards to Apple Wallets, and be able to make and change bookings much more easily than you can with the mobile version of our website today. So I think for all of that, for a relatively small regional airline, 30 aircraft and about 750,000 customers a year, those kind of developments are the technology and the focus of a much larger entity, but I think it's essential that we continue to invest and bring those developments forward to keep pace with customers' expectations. But overall, the customer feedback that we're seeing from the first year of the operating independently has been absolutely tremendous as well. Well, that's probably enough from me in terms of things I wanted to say. What do you want me to say? What do you want to talk about? I'm very happy to take any questions on either anything I haven't covered or anything that you'd like me to cover. So, we'll go around the room this way round.
Jonathan, this is Andreas from BIS Travel Germany. How do you take advantage of synergies with your sister company, BMI Regional, especially if you want to market your flights into the German market, that people get awareness about the Highlands services connections, which are of interest for many German travelers, leisure, business a little bit as well. So how you work with them?
There's a number of different things that we do, some of which are front of house and visible. So we have a code-share and interline arrangement with our sister company, with BMI. There's quite a lot of back-of-house areas. So, for example, we jointly buy fuel, insurance, ground handling, those kind of areas where it makes sense for us to, when we're out purchasing, to be one group buying with 50 aeroplanes instead of 2 airlines each contracting with smaller fleets. I think in terms of the network side, there's a couple of interesting prospects coming up. It looks like there is some change on Glasgow services into Germany over the next 6 to 9 months. It may well be that we will actually use the new capability of the Embraer to pick up some of those routes that are being dropped by other airlines, and that's something that we're actively looking at now. We have applied for slots at 2 airports in Germany for summer 2019, and we're just awaiting feedback now. We're in the IATA slot allocation process. We haven't had the feedback yet, but we should get that any day to know whether those applications have been successful for us to be able to pick up those routes. It's not something that we could ever have done with the previous turboprop fleet, but now that we have the Embraer aircraft into our fleet, is it a realistic prospect? For example, for us to pick up a service into Germany that another airline is dropping? Yes, it is. Can we then offer that as connections from there through Glasgow into our network through the Western Isles? Yes, absolutely we can, and we will. So it opens a new set of horizons for us, but it also means that we will be working closely with our sister company. So what you'll tend to find is that where we have sales teams in places like Norway, where we both, a country market that we both serve, then we work jointly in that, and it's the same sales force looking after both airlines and working with our travel agent partners in places like Norway. So I envisage it would be very much the same in other European countries where we may both operate where there is a shared interest.
From my understanding, it will be, you mentioned Embraer, will be 175 or?
145 and 135.
Okay.
So that primarily is the first aircraft coming in as a replacement to Saab 2000, so it's 50 seats for 50 seats. And the Embraer, albeit fuel prices clearly have increased, the Embraer still gives us a significant cost saving versus the operating cost of the Saab 2000 because of the maintenance costs on the 2000. We'll keep working our way around the room. Go Tony next.
Just clarifying on that. Your first one that's coming in is a 145.
First one coming in is a 135.
It's a 135.
Yeah, and that's the aircraft that was rolled out at the paint shop at East Midlands yesterday.
Yeah.
And then 145 joining us probably late November.
Yeah. So you're just taking the 2 at the moment then?
Yes, although we are expecting that with the Dornier 328 aircraft that we have, we still have 2 of those aircraft in our fleet. That they will be leaving us over the course of the next 9 months, and we'll be replacing those in our operation that's based down in Norwich with Embraer 135s as well.
Sorry, Jonathan, could you expand a bit more on your fleet consolidation? You operate quite a broad variety of aircraft at the moment.
Yes, we do.
What's the game plan going forward then?
Okay, so we currently have 5 types of aircraft in the fleet. 5 Saab 2000s, 2 Dornier 328s, which are a legacy of us having acquired Suckling Airways in 2012. We have 17 Saab 340s. We have 3 Twin Otters, 2 Islanders. So I think the simple thing is to say Twin Otters and Islanders, that will stay the same. They do a very specialist job, as you saw in the video a few moments ago, and the Islanders operating the Orkney Inter-Isles Air Service network. They stay as is, for as long as that job's there to be done. We've been operating Islanders in Orkney for 51 years now. We've been operating Twin Otters in and out of Barra for 40 something years. As long as that job's there to be done, those aircraft will be there. So if we ignore the small side of the fleet, you then look at the big side of the fleet and say, right, the Saab 2000 aircraft will be, it's our intention to phase those out progressively between late this year and January 2020. The Dornier 328 aircraft will also leave the fleet within the next 9 months, and then after that, replacing those with Embraers where we can. But of course, a lot of what we do is operating on and off airfields with very short runways, and the Embraer is not suited to those operations at a number of the Highlands and Islands airports that we serve. So we will need another replacement aircraft type. And that, I think, will almost certainly be ATR 42 aircraft that we'll be aiming to add to the fleet by September of next year. So I think the long-term view is that we say, right, once we have the ATRs in the fleet, we can start to replace Saab 340s. Take our time, there's no rush to do that. Those aircraft still perform very well for us, and we've just made a significant investment in refurbishing the interiors of all of our Saab 340 aircraft. Which actually has really paid dividends customer-wise. But first, short-term priorities, replace Saab 2000 and replace Dornier 328. Medium-term priority, then use those same aircraft types that we're bringing in to replace our Saab 340s. So if you turn the clock forward to 5-6 years' time, Embraer fleet, ATR fleet, and then the little things.
Okay. You're seeing a gradual upgauging of your fleet at this point here. Do you foresee the addition of any narrow-body aircraft, let's say within the next 3 to 5 years, assuming that demand warrants it?
I think for the core of our business, no. I think the kind of Embraer regional jet and the ATR will give us the right mix of range and seat capacity. And what we've done and what has worked very, very successfully with the Saab 340 over time has been to build a frequency of flights within the network in Scotland, because that really helps in terms of the onward connectivity, people not having to sit around waiting all day for the next connecting flight up to the Shetland Islands, whatever it may be. So I think where there is a need for more capacity, we will deliver that through frequency with that, rather than having a subset of, if we had one route that maybe would take a 70-seat jet, it's not worth just going and getting one aircraft to do that one job because of the inefficiency and that brings. So our focus will be more around trying to say, right, let's build frequency. But I think it is getting to the point with a number of things around fuel costs, carbon costs, which have escalated massively in the last 12 months, and pilot shortages, that the future will be around 50-seat aeroplanes rather than 30-seat aeroplanes, because the costs fundamentally are so little different between the two, and that gives us the best fit. I think if you listen to Tim Clark at Emirates, he'll occasionally, or you're certainly used to, I don't think he does nowadays, talk about intelligently misusing their aeroplanes, and I think there'll be an element of that within our network as well, that we'll have a consolidated fleet that we might, in some cases, you think that aircraft doesn't fit that route, well, no it doesn't, but it fits the rest of the network. Stan?
Yeah, it's just a series of quite short questions. First of all, is there a possibility that you might actually operate under a single AOC with BMI?
No.
No.
Next.
Okay.
The two businesses are just so different in terms of their geographical areas in which they operate. BMI is a very disparate spread across Europe. Loganair's activity is concentrated in a very, very small geographical area with a lot of very different things like landing aeroplanes on beaches and islanders and things like that that are just totally unique. And there are so many things in our AOC and operating structure built to cope with that, that I think that doesn't fit well with anything else. So I think if it ain't broke, don't fix it, would be my answer on that one, just to expand on the one-word answer I gave.